Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my SummerSlam 2024 predictions. With SummerSlam being the second biggest show of the entire year, and with them in the future trying to replicate WrestleMania by going to 2 nights, I feel like this SummerSlam needs to knock it out of the park. I'm also being very hopeful that it ends up being an awesome SummerSlam because I'm actually going to be at the show. So in case you happen to be in Cleveland that day, say hi in case you see me. But we're going to go over every single match. I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win. I'm going to tell you if there's going to be any surprises that could happen. And just for fun, I'm also going to predict the 2 title matches that are happening on the SmackDown the night before SummerSlam. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. And yes, there will be a SummerSlam trip vlog, don't worry. And to celebrate SummerSlam, we're actually releasing 2 free Wrestling is Cool Match Club watch-alongs that you can watch right now over on Patreon for free. For free, we're going to be releasing the SummerSlam 2002 match between The Rock and Brock Lesnar for the Undisputed Championship, and we're also going to release a little hidden gem between Jeff Hardy and The Undertaker in a ladder match. So go check it out. I'll put the links in the description or in the pinned comment. Again, entirely for free just to celebrate SummerSlam. But there will be like 50 more of these, plus the Raw review, SmackDown reviews, and the podcast 3 days early if you do decide to subscribe to Patreon. Link in the description or everywhere that there's links. All right, let's jump into it. Let's start off by talking about the WWE Women's Championship match between the champion Bayley defending against the Queen of the Ring winner Nia Jax. Fellas, I have to be honest with you, out of all of the matches that are currently scheduled for this show, this one is far and away the one that I am the least excited about. And it's not because of some petty dumb reason like I don't like Bayley or Nia Jax. It's simply because I just don't think that the WWE has done a particularly great job at getting me or you or the majority of the WWE universe excited for this match. Is there a justifiable reason for this match to exist? Absolutely. You win the Queen of the Ring, you get a match against the champion at SummerSlam. I think we're all on board there. However, just because the reason is justified doesn't mean that you can just phone it in and not make us excited about the actual prospect of the match. Just look at, for example, Gunther and Damian Priest. They've gone beyond just the single layered story of I'm the king of the ring, therefore I get a match against Damian Priest. They've actually given us layers, motivations. They've given us a reason as to why we want to tune into that match. All things that, in my opinion, have been missing from this feud. That being said, I think that I am personally ready for a new champion. Not because I don't like Bayley, but because I feel like I've seen the Bayley championship run, and I also feel like the WWE kind of missed the ball by not revisiting the storyline between her and Io Sky, who put on a fantastic match at WrestleMania. So I think it's time for that title to change hands. Let's put this thing on Nia Jax. Let's justify winning the Queen of the Ring and making it a really important accolade. Let's tell the world, hey, look, Queen of the Ring is the Queen Maker system. This is how you become a champion. And let's make the first ever Queen of the Ring go to SummerSlam, win the big one, and become your new women's champion. I know that some people are maybe wondering about the possibility of Tiffany Stratton potentially cashing in her Money in the Bank briefcase. So I'll quickly touch on that. I don't think that it's going to happen, mostly because we're on the precipice of a brand new briefcase being introduced, new bedazzled pink Barbie looking briefcase. And if it does get introduced, it'll most likely be the night before SummerSlam. And I just don't think that they would introduce it the night before and then immediately use it the day after. I feel like Tiffany Stratton is going to be walking around with this bedazzled pink briefcase for a while. So ultimately, this was a long yap session. I'm going with Nia Jax here. Let's head on over to the mid-card and look at the United States Championship match between the champion Logan Paul defending against LA Knight. This is the match that we've been clamoring for what now, like a year? Not only do we want Logan Paul versus LA Knight specifically, but we've been clamoring and desperately hoping for LA Knight to go after the United States Championship. It's all finally come together and coalesced all on the same night. Fellas, this is the perfect time to put the title on LA Knight. Logan Paul, for all of his faults and not being there enough to defend the championship, to me has been incredible incredibly entertaining, but I don't think that he needs this championship in order to be the best version of himself, in order for the WWE to get the most out of Logan Paul appearances. He doesn't need the championship. In fact, I feel like he's doing the championship a bit of a disservice by not being there enough to be able to defend it and elevate the prestige of the championship. So I'm going to say that LA Knight is going to walk into Logan Paul's home state of Ohio, and he's going to take that United States Championship away from him, and he's going to make that United States Championship a working man's title. He's going to be on the show every single week with that championship, defending it probably more times than Logan Paul within a week than Logan Paul did it in his entire tenureship as champion. So I'm going with LA Knight here. I think this is going to be a really fun match. I think there could be shenanigans, but I don't think it'll be shenanigans that work in the favor of Logan Paul. I'm going with LA Knight here. Staying in the mid-card, let's look at the WWE Intercontinental Championship match between the champion Sami Zayn defending against Braun Breaker. There is one desire that I have for this match, and that is for Braun Breaker to look like a badass. I want the Braun Breaker that they've been selling to us on Monday Night Raw to be the same Braun Breaker that we get at SummerSlam, because the advertised Braun Breaker on Monday Night Raws was not the same Braun Breaker that we got at Money in the Bank. That Braun Breaker from Raw wouldn't lose to one Helluva Kick. I want to see Braun Breaker, if he's going to lose in an absolute blaze of glory. However, I don't think that he loses here. I think that if you want to actually strike when the iron is hot and you don't want to miss on the steamroll train that is Braun Breaker, you pull the trigger now. I know that there are theories and rumors out there that the reason they didn't pull the trigger on Braun Breaker at Money in the Bank is because they wanted to do it at a bigger show. And shit, it's the second biggest show of the entire year. It doesn't get better until WrestleMania. And I don't think that you can afford to wait until WrestleMania to give Braun Breaker his big crowning moment as, you know, the next generation to grab the torch and be the next face of the WWE's, you know, top echelon. I think you have to pull the trigger here on Braun Breaker. I think Sami Zayn has already paved the way to have bigger things beyond this. For example, he's already had that little tag team spark with Jey Uso where they did the 1D, and we're going to talk a little bit more Bloodline here in a second, but I could definitely see them going after some tag team gold and carrying tag team gold up until, you know, the both versions of the Bloodline eventually start feuding with one another. So I think Sami Zayn's path after this is the Bloodline, which is the perfect opportunity to take that Intercontinental Championship off of him and let Braun Breaker run with it. We're going Braun Breaker here, fellas. Let's talk about the Women's World Championship match between the champion Liv Morgan defending against Rhea Ripley. Frankly, if it wasn't for how good CM Punk and Drew McIntyre has been, I would say that this is the best feud going into SummerSlam. At the very least, the feud that's gotten the most screen time and the most tender love and care, because on Monday Night Raw, it seems like between commercial breaks and backstage segments, we're getting some tidbit of storyline development in the Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, and Dominic Mysterio saga. Speaking of Dominic Mysterio, I promise you, this is something that you can take to the bank and take a second mortgage on and put a bet on. He is going to be involved in this match, and I think he unfortunately gets involved in a way where he causes Rhea Ripley to lose. Now the question is, on purpose or by accident, because we've seen numerous times on Monday Night Raw over the last couple of months where Dominic Mysterio has gotten involved trying to cost Liv Morgan the match, where he actually accidentally ends up helping her win. That could be something that they revisit again, or maybe it's just a full-blown heel turn from a heel. I don't know. Would it just be backstabbing at that point? Double agent, triple agent? I don't know. I don't know what you call a heel turning more heel. Triple heel? I don't know. Okay, we're getting sidetracked here. But I do think that Dominic Mysterio costs Rhea Ripley the match here. I know that it's really easy and really tempting to just go Rhea Ripley here. She's the big hot ticket item in the WWE right now. She is your next top star for the next 10 years in the women's division. It's a really, really easy decision to make. However, if Rhea Ripley wins, this feud's done. It's over. There's no coming back for Liv Morgan. It's over. We go our separate ways, and I don't want to go our separate ways because this is the best feud, aside from CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, in in my opinion, the entirety of professional wrestling right now. And I want to see this feud continue to build and continue to boil over into something like Bad Blood, maybe in a women's Hell in a Cell match. Come on, you know that sounds pretty damn appetizing. I'm going to say Liv Morgan retains because of Dominic Mysterio. And I think the question for you in the comments, does he help Liv on purpose or by accident?
He does. Why would you wear
Whoa!
fake? Oh, look at that.
See? Okay.
Time. Oh.
That was cool. Through. Get the pin, Cena.
Go.
Oh my God.
Oh God. Then Roman.
Folks, that was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool SummerSlam Match Club, which is available exclusively over on patreon.com/SantiZap. This week, we're looking at Ricochet versus AJ Styles, SummerSlam 2019. The 2016 WWE Championship match between Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. The SummerSlam Classic at SummerSlam 2016 between John Cena and AJ Styles. A street fight between Dominic Mysterio and Seth Rollins at SummerSlam 2020. And the iconic SummerSlam 2022 main event between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. You're going to get those 5 watch-alongs alongside the Raw review, the SmackDown review, and the podcast 3 days early. That's 8 pieces of extra content, all available on patreon.com/SantiZap. I'll put the link at the top of the description or in the pinned comment, but I'm confident that if you even give it 1 month, that you're going to fall in love with it. Now back to the video. Let's take a quick detour and let's look at SmackDown before SummerSlam, because there's 2 major tag team title matches that I think are worth talking about that under a previous regime would have most likely been on SummerSlam. So let's quickly predict those 2. We have the Unholy Union defending the women's tag titles against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. I'm actually going to go with the Unholy Union here, mostly because it feels like the WWE doesn't really know what they want to do with Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair just yet. It's like, okay, tag team, okay, let's put the brakes on this and let's go our separate ways for a little while to try and qualify for Money in the Bank, try and qualify for the Queen of the Ring tournament and all that stuff. Okay, but let's come back together for a little bit as a tag team and then go our separate ways. No, just kidding. Let's go back as a tag team. So I just don't see the long-term longevity of building the women's tag team division around 2 megastars that are clearly not going to be there for the long haul. Meanwhile, the Unholy Union, that's a tag team that I think you can confidently put your pillars around and try and build the women's tag team division around. I will say, if it wasn't for Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, these titles don't ever sniff a main event or a PLE like they do on a regular basis now because of the existence of Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair in this division. But again, it's temporary. They're obviously going to go their separate ways at some point, and I just don't think that you should put the titles on them when the end game clearly is not them building the tag team division around them. So I'm going to go Unholy Union here. We also have a match for the WWE tag titles between the Bloodline, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga taking on DIY. We are. Look, I hate saying this. I think the Bloodline is winning this. I've been predicting that the Bloodline was going to win tag team gold for an unreasonable amount of time, and it's finally coming to fruition. Here's the thing. I feel like this new iteration of the Bloodline needs gold if you want to start taking it seriously as something that could actually usurp Roman Reigns in the previous Bloodline regime. So I think step 1 is to give Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu the tag titles. I think that there is a possibility here that Jimmy Uso comes back and costs them this match. The reason why I could see that happening is because DIY would only be tag champions for less than a month if they were to lose this. But hey, it'd be pretty on brand with how terribly they've been using Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa ever since being called up from NXT to the main roster. So it's not a crazy thing to say either. I'm actually gonna go with the Bloodline here. Plus Jacob Fatu is just too goddamn awesome to not put some gold around. I'm gonna say the Bloodline walks out with the tag titles. Let's get back in the SummerSlam mode and let's talk about CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre with Seth frickin' Rollins as the special guest referee. This is, in my opinion, the best feud in professional wrestling, and clearly the WWE wants you to also think that it's the best feud in wrestling because, brother, they are doing everything in their power to make sure that you know that by burning the Money in the Bank briefcase on this feud and by putting Seth frickin' Rollins into this feud as well. Here's the thing. Clearly, in some way, shape, or form, from now until WrestleMania, we're going to get various variations of these 3 going up up against one another, triple threat matches, one-on-one matches, maybe tag team matches at some point. Maybe AJ Lee and Becky Lynch come into the fold. Who knows? But these guys are going to be feuding most likely right through past War Games, past the Royal Rumble, and into WrestleMania in some capacity. But the addition of Seth frickin' Rollins as the special guest referee really adds that extra little wrinkle here, because it adds the question and begs the question, frankly, of who is he going to favor? Is he going to actually call things down the middle? What kind of Seth Rollins are we getting? Are we going to be getting cackling Joker Seth Rollins? Or are we going to get somebody that's going to take this match seriously? Is he going to be wearing a crop top for his referee outfit? Is he going to be wearing ridiculous boots? Who knows? There are so many questions with the involvement of Seth frickin' Rollins here, but I do firmly believe that Drew McIntyre is winning this. I feel like Drew McIntyre has taken L after L after L after L at the hands of CM Punk, and I think that it would be cathartic for Drew McIntyre to finally get one up on CM Punk. CM Punk can't continue to just absolutely clown Drew McIntyre for the entirety of 2024. At some point or another, and I think that that point could be right here, right now, Drew McIntyre needs to get one over on CM Punk, and he can get one over by accidentally or on purpose causing Seth Rollins to attack CM Punk in some capacity. Maybe CM Punk goes to push Drew McIntyre, it hits Seth Rollins, Seth gets pissed, goes to super kick Drew McIntyre, accidentally super kick CM Punk. Either way, there's going to be a lot of shenanigans between these three, and I do believe that the end game, the WrestleMania end game, is Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. And if that's the case, I think Seth Rollins in some capacity cost CM Punk this match as well, helping Drew McIntyre finally exercise the demon that has been CM Punk in his life. So I'm going Drew McIntyre here. Let's talk about the World Heavyweight Championship match between Damian Priest, the champion, defending against the King of the Ring winner, Gunther. So just like Bayley versus Nia Jax, obviously there's a justifiable reason for this match to exist. Gunther won the King of the Ring. He goes to SummerSlam and gets to have a world title match. I'm on board with that, and I think that we all were. But for a really, really long time, and don't pretend like you weren't in this camp, no one wanted Gunther versus Damian Priest. I think a lot of people just didn't see that match as particularly mouth-watering or appetizing. People would have preferred Seth Rollins versus Gunther versus Jey Uso perhaps, and that's because the WWE hadn't done the best job at building Damian Priest to be this champion that you want to see defend the title. They completely done a 360 on that, and now everyone is on board with Damian Priest, and part of the reason is because of how good the feud has been. Even in the just 2 weeks that they've had interactions with one another, they've taken this simple one-dimensional justification for a title match and built it into a really interesting feud that's got the legs to go well beyond SummerSlam if they wanted to, which is partly why I'm leaning towards Damian Priest actually winning this, because it has legs to go to Berlin where Gunther could win the title there in front of a crowd that's going to be very pro Gunther. So I'm going to go Damian Priest here, but this, honestly, this feud, this storyline needs to be studied by wrestling scholars, if that's a thing, as to how to quickly build a feud that people give a shit about. This has been such a treat over these last couple of weeks. I'm going to go Damian Priest here. He's the easy to sympathize with champion, and the fact that we have Bash in Berlin just around the corner, which could be a place for Gunther to finally properly be crowned, I think it just makes too much sense to just let Damian have his moment here. I'm going Damian Priest. And that's crazy for me to say, because never in a million years did I think that when he cashed in that Money in the Bank briefcase that Damian Priest was making it past SummerSlam, let alone to SummerSlam, bro. Let's talk about a match that hasn't been announced but could potentially be announced, so it's worth talking about. That being Chad Gable versus Bo Dallas, or maybe it's Wyatt Six versus New Alpha Academy. I've been very vocal on this channel that this iteration of Chad Gable is one of my favorite things in all of professional wrestling, and him aligning with the Creeds was a career lifeline for the Creed, so this is good for everyone that's involved. However, this would be all about Bo Dallas and the Wyatt Six, because frankly, this could be a make or break moment for this entire faction based on how they perform in the ring and how they're presented in the ring and in their entrances, etc. So if there is a match, I do do believe firmly that the Wyatt Six and Bo Dallas will win whatever iteration of a match that ends up potentially happening. Not only do I think that they would win, but I feel like they need to win. I don't think that they can come out of the gates with a whimper and lose a tag team match or a singles match. The Wyatt Six have to be on top if there is a match. And then most likely to close the show, we have the match for the undisputed WWE Championship between Cody Rhodes, the champion, defending against I'm taking it off, Solo Sikoa. I'm just not interested in this, okay? I don't think that the WWE has done a good job at getting me to care about Solo versus Cody Rhodes. Instead, what they've done is gotten me to care about the return of Roman Reigns. That's really what I'm clamoring for here, because half of Solo's promos, yes, he'll talk about Cody Rhodes and the WWE Undisputed Championship, but he spends a good portion of his promos taking jabs at Roman Reigns. So this feud right now is hanging on the balance of people giving a damn about it because of Roman Reigns. And frankly, I don't think that's the best way to build a match between two guys not named Roman Reigns, because no one really cares about the actual match of Cody and Solo. They're just sort of sitting on their hands until we hear the Roman Reigns music. Do I think there's a possibility that Solo Sikoa walks out as the WWE Undisputed Champion? I think that the answer is no. I think that in some way, shape, or form, either Roman coming out will distract Solo, Paul Heyman coming out will distract Solo, but I do believe that Cody Rhodes is walking out as the WWE Undisputed Champion, and I do believe that we're going to start to sew the fabric for bigger storylines involving Bloodline 1 versus Bloodline the sequel. We shall see, but I think that the big prediction here is Roman Reigns returning back to the WWE, probably again on a part-time basis, but at the very least, this will give this Bloodline narrative the jet fuel that it frankly I think desperately needs in order for it to be something that's must-watch TV, something that can make SmackDown not such a drag to watch. I'm going to go with Cody Rhodes retaining here, and I'm also predicting that Roman Reigns comes back to the WWE. Do I think The Rock appears in this? No. I don't think that there's really room for both of them to come back in one show. So I'm just going to go with Roman here and Paul Heyman. Now, if Jimmy doesn't come back at the night before on SmackDown, I could see literally like Paul, Jimmy, and Roman coming out together. All right, folks, those are the predictions for the show. Now is your chance to let me know your thoughts. Let me know who you think is going to win or lose. By the way, if you do see me at the show, please say hi. I'm not a scary dude. You know, you can come take a photo. You can come say hi. We can talk a little bit of wrestling because I will be at SummerSlam. Maybe I'll see you there. Okay, bye. Just realized I didn't say it. Get out of here.